following is a local resident producers program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of CATV2, Oshkosh Community Media Services, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to Eye on Oshkosh. Cheryl, Hentz, and Dan Rylance here, continuing with our candidate interviews for the upcoming spring election, and very pleased to welcome to this half of the show Jef Hall. Jef is currently serving on the county board. We'll talk to him a little bit about his county board service and how he would parlay that to helping the city if he's elected to the Oshkosh Common Council. And later in the show, we'll be joined by the first candidate that we'll be interviewing for the school board here in the city of Oshkosh. So anyway, welcome. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.
This is your first time running for Oshkosh Common Council, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, congratulations on making that decision. Now, how many years have you served on the county board?
5.
Okay. So, you know, that's a little bit different animal, and yet you're dealing with a lot of the same kinds of things.
How I like to compare it is kind of the county board takes care of people, and the city council takes care of things.
Okay.
And you need things and people to come together to make a community.
Okay.
You know.
So you would, obviously the experience that you've got in the last 5 years on the county board would complement whatever you would do on the city council?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
Why do you want to run for city council?
You know, I've tossed it around for a little while, and I've been recruited by several people to run a couple different times.
Yeah.
But really the reason I decided that this year is the time to run is because of, I mean, look, turn on the TV, read the paper right now. There's going to be some real challenges ahead for the next at least 2 years, just working in local government. And I think that I'm someone that has not only, I care about government, I care about services, I want to see that they're continued. I don't want us to do anything that we shouldn't do, but I want services continued. And there's so many people out there that their answer is going to be cut, 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 whereas I think that we can probably be imaginative and try to think of new ways to do things that hopefully we can still keep Oshkosh not only sustained, but, you know, progressing and, you know, becoming a better community even as well over the next 2 years, when a lot of people, all they're going to do is sit back and say, cut, 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 not my fault. But I want to be imaginative and work through new ideas.
Do you have some ideas on what those things might look like or what they might be?
Well, you know, it comes up all the time when you have ideas. But yeah, I think that we can look at small adjustments at first. Former Madison Mayor Paul Soglin has a thing where he says, first pick up the garbage. You know, never come into a new office with huge ideas. You know, show that you can pick up the garbage and plow the streets, and then people will trust you to do big things. You know, but there's a few things I think we need to focus on. I think we need to make a couple targeted areas in the city for not only development but also for traffic flow. You always hear the big argument of, well, nobody comes downtown because there's nothing there. But then you'll hear somebody else say, well, no, there's nothing downtown because nobody goes there. And then you just start chasing your tail round and round and round. But I think that, you know, we can't make people go downtown, but we can help create systems to get them there more efficiently. And also we can make sure that there's something there once they get there. You know, obviously we're not going to put 5 businesses downtown because that's not what the city does, but we can help create the zones that will help them thrive.
Okay.
So those are the basic things over the next 2 years that I want to see. Make sure that the services we have continue. I mean, we've got a great fire department. We've got pretty good streets. I know a couple times this year people were a little frustrated, but I got to work every day, and I hate to see any of those fall off. We've got great policing, so I don't want to see any of that fall off with cuts. But I also want to find new ways to do things, and also to just be able to stand up and defend the great things that we have when others would take them away.
You're also chairman of the Winnebago Democratic Party?
No, I am not.
Are
I
you
am
done?
Vice chair.
Oh, you're vice chair.
I had to make a deal
okay.
with my significant other
Oh,
that I couldn't do them all.
Okay.
So I had to.
Throw out that question.
Yes, I've been voluntarily downgraded so that
I was
could
going
run
to
for
say
city
3
council.
positions
Yeah,
is
no.
a little, if you would win.
Yeah, no.
Cheryl and I, the last month or two, we've interviewed a lot of people on pantry services, for food for people, shelters, a warming thing.
Warming shelter.
What's your response to maybe the city creating a poverty homeless committee?
Oh, absolutely. I know that there is one in action, kind of off to the side with the United Way and some other community leaders. I believe Mark Harris is on it and some other people. Absolutely. In fact, the reason I'm having the interview now and couldn't come to the earlier slot is I just came from the ADVOCAT board meeting.
Okay.
And I've been on the ADVOCAT board the entire time I've been on the county board. So no, I believe poverty issues are very, very important. And I think that, and like I said, that's the one difference between like city and county board is county board takes care of people.
Right.
So a lot of times those poverty programs will sit at the county rather than the city.
Right.
But the city can help create the conditions that will bring better jobs in, that will create locations like you're talking about, that'll help people that are in distress or in a vulnerable situation. So I think that's something that we need to partner on and look into. No, absolutely important. That'd be actually a major priority of mine.
What we've found with a lot of, no one really has a count of homeless people. The county doesn't really count homeless people in the county, do they?
They do it as part of the census. So in a week or two,
Okay.
we might
Okay.
have an updated one.
Yeah.
There was a count of, I believe, and I'm going to come up with the wrong term for this,
That's okay.
but it's people like at risk of homelessness.
Okay.
So, didn't have a shelter for X days in the past Y. And I remember that came out recently. It was in the Northwestern. The school district did a study of the number of students, and then with that helped extrapolate the number of families. Okay. So no, there is. We are luckier than most places with the recession that hasn't been an exploding problem. But I mean, really, the poverty anywhere is a problem because it's something that a community can work on.
Okay. One of the things that Dan and I have been talking about with other candidates for the council is, this issue of TIFs and so forth. Now, Oshkosh Corp was given a TIF this last year. I don't know if you would have supported that if you were on the council or opposed it. Okay. Why?
Well, you talk about poverty. What's the best way out of poverty is a good job. And there was a situation where there was an investment that was also led to jobs. And I followed your opinions on this, and I know we're not always 100% in agreement.
Right.
But
right.
we just had a presentation at the county board about possibly purchasing land off the airport that would be industrial development land. And if someone would build something there, it would be they would own the building, the county would still own the land, and it could be TIF financed. And if there was a major employer that could come in there with TIF financing, I would lean towards supporting that because, like I said, the best way out of poverty is a good job. And I was like, Mark Harris has a good one. He says, you can't be pro-jobs and anti-business. It's like being pro-teeth and anti-dentist.
Well, that's true, but in this case, Jeff, they already had the plans, the plant started, and it failed the but-for test.
And I understand
so
that.
that was, and that's where we're going to have to just agree to disagree.
And that's fine. I would have supported that one. But the thing is if there is not a definite plan, that's one thing I liked about the Oshkosh truck is there was a definite plan. This is what's going to happen. There have been other times things have come up and they said, well, we've got a business, but I can't tell you what it is. And I'll want more accountability than that.
Okay, so let's talk about the hotel that's sitting on the corner of Main and whatever that street is, Otter, or I don't even know, Wagoo, I don't know.
It switches from one
It's
side
by
to the other.
Convention Center.
Yes.
It's attached to the Convention Center. Park Plaza Hotel, City Center Hotel, whatever name it is. They want somewhere between $2 and $8 million in financial assistance from the city. City manager doesn't want to give it to them, says those demands are unreasonable, doesn't feel that there's enough trust there between, them and the
trust
city.
goes to plan.
Right. And so if you were sitting on the council and this issue comes up, as it very well may, where will Jef Hall fall on that vote?
And it's just like I said, trust goes to plan. So the more money you want, the more trust you're going to need. So the better your plan had better be, and the better your personal investment had better be. So I can't say I would approve 2, 3, 4, 8 million, whatever. I would be open to receive any plan and do the Reagan thing, trust but verify. I'm going to want to see. I'm going to want to see, financial statements. I'm going to want to see real plans, business plan, marketing plan. And I have an interesting view on this from my time as Democratic Party chair. We just happened to have the Democratic State Convention here in Oshkosh the same weekend that they went bankrupt. And it was not pleasant. And until that gets sorted out, we aren't going to have the convention business we should have. But that goes to how can we create the things that will bring people downtown. Hotel space downtown is a big thing that we do need. I'm 100% behind getting that done. We need to get it done reasonable so that we're not fleeced for it, but we do need those rooms downtown to bring people downtown, because that brings jobs and money downtown too. I bet you it's not going to happen as much as it would have before, but I loved the idea of the smaller convention center that the university had for mainly university projects as well, because that also is more hotel space downtown. I would love to see the ability to get downtown with streets. And there's small things I think we could do to get people downtown a lot easier too. I'm very excited about the start of the Riverwalk. Things like that are things that will make Oshkosh an even better community.
Sure. Besides TIF, what other things would you advocate as far as economic development tools to jumpstart some more business in this community?
Well, that's hard to say. With the current political situation, who knows what's going to be available? Are the DNR grants that we've seen before going to be there? Are, they're changing the whole commerce department. What is that going to do? Would they even focus on area A or area B? So what would I advocate for? I'd advocate for anything that's, like I said, has a good plan, is responsible. But, I am not against development at all, because not only once a building is built are there people that have to clean it and staff it and man it, but people have to build it too. And those are all jobs in the community that are going to be good for Oshkosh.
Sure.
It's only 48 hours since Governor Walker gave his infamous budget repair bill.
I don't know the actual budget.
But the budget,
It's been 3 interesting weeks since the repair bill.
You're going to go on the council, you're going to go with, it's 96 million total reduction in shared revenue. I don't know what it is for the city. The property tax.
0.
Yeah, that's a killer. And then he wants to disenfranchise every city employee who's in a union. How are you going to work with these things?
Well, once again, that's where we're going to need imagination. I will not poo-poo any plan that comes forward. I will not balance Oshkosh's budget on the back of the people that provide services for Oshkosh. However, the sad truth is there may be people that work for Oshkosh or the county. I think the county might come out better overall, that may not work there a year from now. And that's terrible. I think that we need to start planning for things like that, though. And that gets into more what's a bigger plan. Because right now in the short term, we need to preserve services. And the thing is everyone says but we don't need this worker, we don't need that worker. But every time you get rid of a worker, you get rid of a service. So what we really need to do is have a real discussion about what are the things that government should do and how should you pay for those things.
So you'd put privatization on the table?
For certain things, but we've seen again and again that it ends up not saving money in the long run.
And worse service.
Yeah, you get worse service, you save money for 2 years because they lowball it and they know that they can take the profit hit, and then you've sold everything off, and because of our economic conditions, we now have to double the price. You know, it's the big talk about what happened with the security guards in Milwaukee. It's happened in a lot of areas when they decide to privatize garbage. Government should do those things that there's no business making money off of, you know? And there are a lot of services that I don't see how, you know, in a dense urban area, there's a real profit margin in it, other than, you know, sure, you can make money picking up garbage, but to do that, you have to pay your driver half as much as we do. So you're still paying the same amount as a taxpayer, but that extra money is now going to, you know, wherever Waste Management is based out of, or wherever Veolia is based out of, and not staying in the community. If the only difference is we save 5%, but the drivers that live here are making 20% less, that's a loss to the community overall. And you need to make decisions like that based on what is the entire community impact. If someone can come here and say, hey, we're a local company, we can do it, there will not be a negative multiplier to the community through wages, we can look at it. But a lot of the things that have come up in the past, I think there's reasons that we haven't done them because cooler minds have prevailed.
What are a couple of things, you know, that you would like to accomplish in your first term on the council if you're elected, Jef?
The first term, I'd like to Oshkosh still standing.
After that.
You know, the reason I'm here is because I love Oshkosh. You know, if you see I've got the jefhall.com website, and you see my logo says, you know, I'm for Oshkosh, and it's the truth. I really like it here. And I know there's been, you know, bickering back and forth about the whole, should we be event city or not? I think it's great. I love the event city idea because, you know, before the volleyball tournament was even announced, I spoke with the guy that was putting it together. Him and I are in a professional organization together. So it was just random. Oh, you're from Oshkosh. Hey, I'm working with your Convention and Visitors Bureau. And he went on and on about what a great job they did for them. And that's what we can do. We can't put together events. But should we only focus on the big events, or should we focus on, let's talk about the little events too. You can see world-class jazz here in Oshkosh at least twice a week. You can see amazing art downtown once a month. I mean, we have big events, we have little events, we have everything. Marketing is a big thing. What can we do to bring people to Oshkosh? Because you know what? I would rather hang out here than Appleton any day.
So those are things that you would work on toward accomplishing?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I want people to know what a great community is. And I think one of the biggest things that we miss out on is 10,000 people a year try Oshkosh on for size at the university. What can we do to get more of them to stay? You know what? A lot of the people, I didn't know about a lot of the great music stuff, a lot of the great cultural stuff that's here in Oshkosh when I went to school here. What can we do to get more of them involved in the community so that they realize that this is a really great place to live?
We've been talking about events. Do you want to ask your events
Yeah.
policy question?
City spent a couple years on this.
Yep.
You know, it was going to end all problems about events, right?
Nothing ends all problems.
And so what do? The two that everyone wanted to be charged for the event, Sawdust Days and the Farmers Market.
And that precipitated it, really, with
Yeah,
Sawdust
that's why
Days.
they wanted it. They exempt it.
Well, and now I'm going to take one small umbrage with the question.
Okay, that's
I-
fine.
I hate it when people say that everybody wanted, because I'll tell you, that's one of the big problems we have in government now. Everybody knows what everybody wants,
Right.
and everybody wants everybody to agree as long as they agree with me.
I understand.
So,
The one poll was 72%.
oh, that's fine.
No.
But there's no doubt it
precipitated,
Sawdust Days
yeah.
precipitated
You know.
that policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, and I understand that. But once again, I think that that's something where they're your partners. That's one of the few meetings I missed watching was the Sawdust Days one. I plan on catching it on OCAT. The website's great. I would like to know a little bit more about their financials and what would it really do to the quality of the festival overall, if in fact it was charged. I think there needs to be a consistency of application. I probably would have leaned towards not charging Special Olympics for the Polar Plunge.
Because they're the ones who can't afford it.
Yeah.
They don't have any money, really.
But we don't know that for sure, so I'd want to see a better, I'm going to want to see a good statement from...
Didn't they have to make those statements to roll off?
To
go
the
through
financials?
To those 10 points of criteria that he decided whether they were exempt or not?
Yeah, but I'm going to want to see them.
You want to see them, okay.
I don't know if you've watched a county board meeting, but I tend not to just, if somebody says...
You want to see things.
This is how it is,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can I see?
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay.
Because you can tell me everybody wants something, but
No,
I bet
no.
you I could find 2 people that don't, and then all of a sudden you're not 100% correct. So,
All right, instead of a commercial for all the candidates, I have one chicken question to ask.
okay,
Okay, bear with me.
I'm okay with chickens.
Okay, there's an amendment to the pet ordinance that's coming to the council, probably sometime April later, that would allow 4 hen chickens in every residential property in Oshkosh. There'll be some requirements about hen houses and all this. On a scale of 1 to 10, not saying whether you're for it or against it, how important is this to you?
To be honest, not very.
Okay,
But I'm okay with it.
2 or 3?
Probably around a 5,
A
just
5?
because
Oh.
well, these.
my significant other wants chickens.
Ah.
So I have an in-house lobbyist
Okay, that's good.
on that
Okay,
issue.
all right.
Well, that's important.
I grew up in Princeton,
Okay,
so I had lots of chickens growing up.
Okay.
I may understand this issue a little bit more than the most because
Okay.
nobody knows it by looking at me, but I'm a farm boy.
Okay.
And so, you know what?
all right.
I think that some of those issues we need to make a decision on and move on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like that come up to the council, and it happens to the county board too. We will, without blinking, pass $4 million for a new road,
Right.
and then we'll get into an hour-long discussion about $20,000 for the weirdest thing. And the things that people decide to focus on, and I realize chickens are very important to some people, and they should be, but also I think we spend a lot more time talking about chickens than we have about poverty.
Right.
And you know which one I'm going to want to spend more time on? Yeah. It's okay. I don't think anyone's going to be hurt by chickens. Look at Nina. In fact, I get chicken manure from Nina, from a lady that I work with. And, nobody's trying to pitchfork her house.
Another pet ordinance question, and then this has been bandied about for a number of years,
time.
and it has pretty evenly divided the community.
Dogs in the parks?
Yes.
Yes.
Where do you stand on that?
About a year or two ago, when all of this was on, there was chickens, there was the deer, and then there was the dogs as well. I was going to, and I'm probably getting in trouble for saying this, but I was talking with friends of mine that we need to get Dr. Doolittle on the council, an expert. But people love their dogs. I think that the good thing about a dog ordinance is it's just an ordinance. It can be changed. You can give it a try, and if 6 months later you see that people are not being responsible, then hey, that's it. You can't do it. Find people that do it. My biggest concern is safety. But I tell you, I knock on a lot of doors, and there are dogs that are off leashes in yards that will chase me from the sidewalk.
They want you to vote for dogs in parks, and then
I know.
maybe they won't chase you.
So you know what? I think that people can be responsible, but if it becomes a public safety issue first, is what I'm the most concerned about, and the cleanliness of the park, very concerned about as well. But that's my second concern. If there was a well-written ordinance with a timeline for, okay, if we don't see what we need to by this, it's going to go away. That's how I think I'd like to see it. Like I said, do something a little bit different rather than just saying, okay, we're going to allow it now. Say we're going to allow it for X amount of time. And
Sunset it for a year or two.
yeah, this needs to be voted on again, X. So that way
Okay.
people know that, you need to be responsible. And all this comes down to personal responsibility.
Sure, sure. You mentioned knocking on a lot of doors. What have you been hearing, Jef, from people out there while you're on the campaign trail? What are they concerned about?
You know, the biggest thing you see is people are concerned about themselves. You know, I always probably lose votes because people knock on the door and they go, "Hey, what are you going to do for me?" I go, "Nothing. I'm not going to do anything just for you. I'm going to do the best I can for Oshkosh, or I'm going to do the best I can for Winnebago County, and you know what? It'll help you. But I'm not going to do anything for you." And a lot of people are really concerned. Like I said, you know, they want to know that their garbage is still going to get picked up. They want to know that they're not going to have a huge increase in taxes. They want to know that their streets are going to get plowed. They want to know that people are actually going to think and ask a few questions before they decide to build something somewhere. I think really people don't mind paying for a service that's done well and you're accountable for it. And that's really the biggest thing I want.
Okay, all right. How do you feel our city manager is doing? He's been here a couple of years now, and you know, he had a lot of hurdles to get over in his first year or two here, and it looks like the hurdles are getting even higher that he's going to have to jump over.
Anyway.
How do you feel he's doing?
I think Mark does a overall a good job. You know, when they actually put out the grades that everyone gave him, I thought a couple of them were too harsh. I thought one of them might have been a little too good. But I think he has been a very good addition to the community. I'm glad to have him here. I think he's thoughtful. I think he does bring some imagination with him. He's just about one of the nicest people I've met, whether he means it or not. You know, I'm sure he does, but I'm just saying he seems to always be in a good mood. And I think that's important. I think it's nice to have in Oshkosh a cheerleader for Oshkosh.
Well, he does seem to be more user-friendly to the public than what we've seen in the
Clearly,
past.
yeah.
So.
And like I said, I like this place. I love it here. And I am glad that right now our city manager, who in essence is the biggest face of Oshkosh, is someone that really likes it here too and is a fan of Oshkosh. And I can work with somebody like that.
Okay. Do you have a short question?
I don't know whether to be short. You've worked on the county board, and you may go to the common council. Comparing their two procedures and stuff, is there anything on the council that would make it work better, or that you would bring your expertise in terms of procedures and just, is there anything that upsets you on how they run their meetings?
No, there's, well, one thing, and it's not about the meetings, it's how things get done. I have listened to certain members of the council go on for years about what they would like to see happen. How come we don't get a resolution on this? How come we never see a resolution on this? You know what? You're a duly elected member of the council. Write a resolution. If you think you have a good idea and nobody in the staff is doing it for you, write a resolution. Bring it to the county.
They don't do that,
to
do they?
the city council. No, they don't.
No.
They every time they have something they want to do that doesn't come, they blame because staff wouldn't bring a resolution. Write it yourself. Be a leader.
Good
Okay.
answer.
We are down to a little less than a minute. Why don't you take about 30 seconds, look into camera 3 there, Jef, and tell folks why they should elect you to the Oshkosh Common Council.
Well, like I said, the biggest thing is we are going to have an incredibly difficult 2 years coming up. And I am someone that will fight to keep Oshkosh the good place it is. And also, while other cities are going to be defending and cutting, I want to preserve and maybe even advance. And that's the big thing that I think, the kind of leadership we're going to need in this time.
Okay,
And
excellent.
imagination.
All right, very good. Well, good luck to you, and just sit tight. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will be joined by
Good luck.
school board candidate
you.
Allison Garner. We'll be right back.
Every year, the U.S. Department of the Treasury receives about 1.4 million reports of problems with paper checks. Checks can be lost, stolen, or delayed. If you still receive Social Security payments by paper check, Treasury wants you to know about a safer, more convenient way to get your money. The Direct Express Prepaid Debit MasterCard. The Direct Express card is new and is available to anyone receiving Social Security benefits, even if you don't have a bank account. Your monthly benefits will be automatically placed onto your card account each month on the day your money is due. While other debit cards cost money, it is possible to use the Direct Express card for free to make purchases, pay bills, and get cash at thousands of locations nationwide. There are no sign-up or monthly account fees. No more waiting for the mail or worrying about lost or stolen checks. Call 1-877-212-9991 or visit www.usdirectexpress.com.
And welcome back to the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. And Allison Garner is here now. She's a candidate for the Oshkosh Area School District Board of Education. There are 4 candidates running, 2 seats. John Lemberger will be here in a couple of weeks doing an interview with us. And John Daggett is not going to be appearing. Nor will Derek Kloiber. Now, I have to say something about Mr. Kloiber. We put out a number of calls to him, and he lacked the common courtesy to return a phone call to us. So I don't care if somebody comes on the show or doesn't come on the show. You know, obviously we'd like to have people on. But, you know, we're not going to beg someone to come on the show. But I have a real problem with someone who lacks common courtesy and respect. And I wonder, you know, how they would be as an elected official responding to constituents' calls when they have that kind of lack of respect. So obviously I can't support Mr. Kloiber, and he will not be appearing. So you'll have to find out his positions on things from other avenues. But anyway, we're very happy that you're here. So
Good. Yes. So am I.
well, you actually called me to come on the show.
I did.
You beat me to the punch. I was making my lists and checking them twice, and you beat me to the punch. So thank you for that.
Sure.
And thank you for coming in tonight. We appreciate it. You've never run for political office in Oshkosh before, so tell us a little about yourself and why you're running.
Okay. Well, I am a mother of 2. I have 2 kids in elementary school. I have
Where at?
Lakeside Elementary, first and second grade, so they're still pretty young. Been married for 13 years. We moved to Oshkosh in 2011. Professionally, I am a chemical engineer. I got my MBA here at UW Oshkosh. I am the vice president of an engineering consulting firm, and we work in the oil industry. My experience with the school board was about 3 years ago. The school board started closing down schools on the south side. So when it directly affected me, like any other human, then I became involved, right? So I helped found Oshkosh for Education, which was a community organization that really just wanted to make sure that when we made decisions in the school district, that it was done using data, using research, using numbers, using good financials.
I remember some of your presentations before the board.
Wonderful,
Yes, I do.
So after 3 years of listening and going to almost every board meeting, it just seemed like a natural leap to kind of jump in and go for it.
Any groups encourage you to run, or individuals?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, several board members called me personally and said, we think that you should go for it. It sounds like this was before when Tom McDermott was talking about stepping down. Wasn't for sure that he was going to do that, but they said, if he does, would you go for it? And I said, oh, heck no. I mean, I'd rather criticize you guys than be up there.
After the governor's budget on Tuesday?
Yeah, that was a little tough.
Second thoughts?
Yeah, oh yes, but, so, yeah, that's why I'm running.
Okay. Well, obviously, now Dan brought up about the budget. It's going to hit the school district extremely hard.
Yep.
There are going to have to be some real tough choices being made. And it's a little unfair because you've not worked with the school district budget, but you have some sense of what the district's budget is, and where there might be some things that could be cut more easily than others. Where do you see room to make some cuts in this district's budget?
That's a great question. I'm not sure exactly whether I would like to concentrate more on cuts or concentrate more on revenues. My whole campaign has been that I would like to see us grow revenues instead of cutting from an already very, very lean, what I see as a pretty lean budget. I understand that the decrease in state aid will be about $500 per student. If you multiply that by 10,000 students, you get about $5 million. And that'll be year after year. So we're looking at $5 million a year in cuts. I'm not sure whether the teachers paying into pensions and health benefits will save us enough. It looks like when we look at the initial numbers, maybe 2 or 3 million, so it'll offset the deficit a little bit. But not totally. And what I'd really rather do is expand the pie. When I look at the data over the last 3 years, we've lost a net of over 200 students to other public schools. In other words, kids in our attendance areas are choicing out of our school district, and they're going to other public school districts, Neenah, Amro, Winneconne. Every time we lose a student, we lose $6,000 of state aid. And if you count the over 200 kids that have just left for public schools, and I'm not including private, not including virtual, I'm not including homeschool kids, just the public school to other public school districts, 200 kids times 6,000 per head is 1.2 million. That's a loss of revenues because we're losing kids. And I think that is something that momentum needs to stop. I would rather have kids that are in our attendance area, attending our schools. Why are they leaving? How can we get them back? And how can we become a destination district so now we start luring kids from other districts?
How do we do that?
That's a great question. Well, I have lots of ideas. I think that we have a couple opportunities. The biggest one that I see right now is something that VGUT has been talking about, and that is the debt for Traeger is now pretty much paid off. So we now have these dollars available. And that's exciting because that hardly ever happens. So how do we take this pot of gold and how do we invest it wisely? And how do we get quick paybacks on this money? I mean, I don't think that we should be looking at anything that has more than a 2-year payback. If it costs you more than 2 years to get your money back, then we're not done brainstorming. We keep brainstorming until we get down to 2-year payback. I think we need to innovate. I think we need more technology. I think we need to change the way that we educate our kids. I think we need to change a lot of things. I think we need to have virtual schools. I think we need to increase grant applications. I'd love to see us use grad students or maybe even undergrads from the UW to help us with the grunt work that the administrators have to do to get grants that they can then turn over to CISA so that they can write it to get it the funding. I want to be doing all of these things. And this makes the pie bigger. And this makes our district an exciting place to be, rather than a place where we're looking at firing and cutting. And
this question is no way meant to put water on your fire. Okay? But I think realistically, just like the federal government can't balance the budget without touching entitlements, I don't think you can get enough new revenue for this school district to make up for the cuts unless A, you go to referendum, or 2, you redistrict and close some of the elementary schools. I hope your plan works, but I think the cuts are going to be so big, plus the property tax thing that is in the budget, which I don't totally understand. I'm just afraid that the pain is going to be now you're from a school that has often been on the list. Will you say I won't redistrict under any circumstances and lose the school that my kids go to?
Oh, I have no problem redistricting.
Okay. It's never been done because the board lacks the courage and the fortitude to really do that. And every time it's up, they find some excuse not to do it. But
parents come flocking to the
million.
And
but it seems to me that it's got to be And those are long-term changes that would benefit. So you're not opposed to closing
not.
some schools?
Well, I'm not opposed to redistricting.
Yeah.
Now, when we start talking about closing schools and making big changes,
Yeah.
I can't say whether I support it or not because I have to see the numbers.
I understand.
And I want to see pro forma income statements on every single change that comes before the board. Because what we were finding with Lakeside is what they wanted to do was close down the school and try and put us into another school, except all the other schools are full. And if you look on my website, which I have, on my website I have all of the capacities for all of the elementary schools. We have 15 elementary schools. 8 of our 15 are over capacity. 3 of them are exceeding 100% capacity. So I think there's a misnomer that our schools have all this excess room and that we can just close the school and throw these kids in another school and no harm done. The problem is that's not the case. And when we went in and we looked at the option for closing Lakeside, which was a year and a half ago, we would have to take all of these kids, these 200 and so kids, and put them across 3 schools. And that would exceed some of the school student per teacher ratios that they had to hold at Jefferson because they're a SAGE school. So they were either going to have to get rid of SAGE funding, which was about $170,000 that cut right into the savings that everybody thought we were going to have. We're going to have to keep more teachers than we thought. At the end of the day, when we did the income statement, it was $10,000 of savings. And I don't think that you take 200 kids and transition them multiple times, because the kids on the south side have been transitioned multiple times, for $10,000.
Oaklawn is clearly a problem, though.
Oaklawn's a huge problem.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, we got to do something with that.
Yep, and Oshkosh for Education, the organization that I helped found, we've extended our help to them. We've given them lots of information. We have been really involved with their community to try to get ways for them to get enough support so that we could get that school fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's enough for me.
Okay, I'll go then. Despite the budget turmoil, or maybe in part because of it, Dr. Vigut, our school superintendent, is determined to bring forth several different referenda questions in an upcoming election. And they total something like $66 million. A new Oaklawn Elementary and a Southside Elementary School for $25 million. Addressing maintenance, technology, and security needs, $14 million. Exceed revenue caps, $4 million for the 2011-2012 school year, $5 million in 12 to 13, and $6 million for the next 3 years after that. So that's $66 million, and who knows, it might even end up being more. Given everything that the people in this district are facing, would you support any of these referenda questions?
Okay. If we take them one at a time, because overall, I hate to say, okay, throw this in the paper, it's $66 million, we're coming after you, we're going to take more of your money. That, I think, is a little bit misleading, because that's not how I understood it. And I was at the meeting on, I think it was February 21st, it was Monday evening, it was a special board meeting. I was there, I was involved in the brainstorming, I was a public person that everybody there invited me to be part of the brainstorming. So let's talk about Oaklawn. For $15 million, I don't know. I want to see, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I want to see the income statement. I want to see how much money this is going to save long term. If this building is in such dire need of maintenance and repairs, which I've been there several times, I actually think it is. But is it like that junker car that we just keep pouring money into, that now we're putting more money into it rather than more than what it's worth? I just don't know where the 15 came from. I need to understand the 15 better. I need to understand the savings over time, because again, I see this as a pot of gold. This is a huge opportunity, and if we don't have a 2-year payback, I don't think I can support it. I don't think that we have the luxury of time. We don't have enough resources, and we don't have enough time. We are hemorrhaging cash, and we need to stop that. But Oaklawn needs a new school. I agree, the place needs some serious help, and I support that. I just don't know if the $15 million is the right answer, and I don't know what it involves.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish.
I was going to go with the second one,
Yep,
which is with the $10 million. That, at this point, as of Monday night, February 21st, that was a 10-year payback. In other words, it was $10 million to build on to Shapiro, close down all these other schools, shut those schools down, put them all in this 500-plus student school. And they looked at the savings, and it was 15 to 18 FTEs. So I said, okay, I'm going to use $60,000 for pay plus benefits. I'm going to multiply that by 15, 18, and I get about $1 million. So that means they're going to take this pot of gold to $10 million. We're going to save $1 million, and we still have a $4 million leftover deficit. So I've got a lot of problems with that one. I'm not against a 500 student school. I'm not against what the Shapiro Brain Beats charter would continue with. I've actually been in very, very close contact with their principal, who's reached out to me specifically and has wanted to craft this school so that it will succeed, so that she can get it working, and so that we can do something that is innovative, something that attracts kids back into our district as well as from other districts. But I don't think that $10 million to save one is proper.
Okay.
So I don't think I could support that. Now, if we can get it to a 2-year, I just don't think we're done brainstorming. I think if we can get down to 2-year, and actually, I have some ideas on that, and I think we can do that. I think if we can get it down to 2 years or less, I think it's something we can probably sell to the public.
Okay. And exceeding the revenue caps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
I'm so on the fence with that. I hate to see us exceeding the revenue caps. I don't think that the economy is rolling yet. I see that we are coming out of a recession. However, I just saw in the news today that we're seeing a double dip in housing. So I worry that this is not, that we're actually not coming out, that we're going to fall again. And I think that every time you take money out of taxpayers' pockets, we ruin the economy, and that makes the pie smaller. I want to make the pie bigger. So I don't know. I'm not sure about that
Okay,
one.
that's fair enough. Because whether the district puts it on the ballot or not, ultimately, each one of us who's a member of the voting public and a taxpayer, we're the ones who's going to decide if this passes or fails.
Right,
So,
right.
A couple of real quick questions. The district has recently changed it lifted its ban on cell phone use for high school students.
Okay.
I realize that there's certain caveats that go with that, but good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
I think it's a great idea.
You think it's a great idea?
I do.
Okay.
And there's several reasons. The ones that I understood the board members that came up and said, that's not fair, not every kid has one. My thought was that for the kids that don't have access to cell phones, just because they don't have access to cell phones doesn't mean that they shouldn't have access to cell phones in general. So whether they have one in their personal family or in their immediate family, I didn't see that as being an issue. I think that the teachers at both the high schools can be delicate in the way that they bring it up. Did everybody bring their cell phone? Does anybody have one with a data plan? Can we use it? Can we share it? We're using collaboration in high school, so you've got a group of 4 or 5 kids. Probably 3 of those or 4 of those are going to have cell phones. I just see it as a way of bringing technology into the classroom, bringing information that we wouldn't otherwise be able to access. And because a kid doesn't have it, personally have it, they get to see it, they get to use it, they get to touch it, they get to punch buttons on it. I think that's better for that kid than to have never accessed it at all. So I didn't see it as that big of a deal. I support it.
No concerns that there's going to be misuse for cheating on tests or just goofing around?
I think the teachers can handle that. I have a lot of respect for teachers, and I think if they see it, they will stop it.
Okay, if they see it. That's the thing, if they see it. And, teachers are busy enough in the classroom, I don't know that they're going to see everything that every student is doing. I'd be willing to bet that they wouldn't.
They don't know.
Yeah. Now, I have to refer to my notes here because I know that Dr. Vigut wants to change the meeting structure in which it would replace 2 formal regular board meetings each month with a single regular business meeting and then a second board retreat. The retreats would be held at locations depending on the size and the involvement, and they would include only the approval of bills payable and the retreat content area. I'm not sure what retreat content area is, but the Northwestern has come out saying this shuts the public out of a large part of the process. It opens the door for open meetings laws violations and so forth. Where does Allison Garner stand on this particular issue?
Well, from what I understood, those meetings would be public. They are retreats. And I know one of the board members had said repeatedly that he would only support it if there were public forums at the beginning of these meetings. So it was my understanding that they would always be in the boardroom and that they would be public. There would be public forums and that they would be televised. So,
well, see, now what I read in the paper is that it says right here that it would they'd be held at locations as size and involvement dictates. That doesn't suggest to me that it's going to be at the administration building in the boardroom.
Right, and I don't know,
So-
but when I was in the meetings, in fact, it was just the last board meeting, not this past Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, that they talked about it. And
So if it's held in the board meeting
Yeah.
room, then you're okay with it.
Yeah.
What if it's going to be held somewhere else?
I think that if we make it easy for the public, then let's make it easy for the public. Let's have it in the boardroom, let's have it televised, let's have a public forum, and let's just do that.
Okay,
You know,
excellent.
I think it's really good that a mother with children is running for the school board, and I mean that
Yep.
not patronizing, because there is no woman on the board, and there should be. And I've written letters to the editor at Northwestern before. I think it's really a travesty that there's. So I wish you the best on that.
Thank you.
So I have a couple questions as a
All right.
mother and
Okay.
about your children.
Okay.
In the ideal world, what do you hope most for your children for the education they're going to get in Oshkosh? What are you looking for things that are really important to you as a mother?
That's a great question. I think that I would like for my children to graduate from this district being able to compete globally. I would like for them to have access to technology so that they could hit the ground running when they graduate college. I'd love it if they could get into a great college. I want them to be competitive with other students in the nation, but they have to be competitive with other students in the world. So I think that I would like for our district to take the blinders off, and not that they have them on, but I think that we need to take a global look at how schools and education, how education is being done all across the world.
You must have some ideas about expanding that global thing. What other places are doing?
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, give us a couple.
Well, I've traveled extensively. I have a
Okay.
lot of overseas
Yeah,
traveling experience. I think that we can learn a lot from Scandinavian countries. We can learn a lot from some European countries. I think that we need to get away from the 1950s or 1940s version of a teacher in front of a class with a textbook. That has to change. And I'm just the messenger. I mean, kids don't learn that way anymore. My kids don't learn that way anymore. I barely learn that way. So I think we need to continue to keep innovating, and I don't know why we're stuck. I don't know why we can't make these changes. I'm sure I'm going to find out. And I know a lot of it has to do with money. But I want for all of our kids, including my two, to be able to graduate this district with an idea of the world. That it's not just about Oshkosh or Wisconsin or even the U.S. It's about, you're now competing with kids in the Czech Republic and, China and all over the world. So,
Okay. As a parent, are you concerned about over-testing? I think now they're going to a
Okay.
third round of tests.
well, one of the things that they had discussed, from what I understand, is that there's a new way to test, and instead of doing a WKCE test, which gives you essentially a score of proficiency, that there's a test that you could take, you don't have to, from what I've understood, 3 different times during the year.
Right.
So I'm not terribly over-concerned about testing.
Okay.
I think the way that testing is done needs to change. I think the Scantrons with the bubbles has to go.
Okay.
I think multiple choice kind of stuff has to go.
Okay.
I think a lot of it can be interactive, it could be collaborative, a lot of it can be online, it can be web-based. It can be, you can have programs that can go as fast or as slow as a student. And I think that the new system that they're going to is going to measure growth rather than proficiency. So that you can actually see, okay, let's say a kid is really highly proficient in the 2nd grade and goes to 3rd grade and still proficient. That's not good enough for me. That means that the kid did nothing, plateaued and did nothing. I want to see the growth of that kid through their school career. If you're going to test 3 times a year, as long as it's not for a week at a time, I'm not concerned.
I got one more.
Go ahead.
There's a huge assault on teachers. They're overpaid.
They only work 9 months
They only
out
work
of the
9
year.
months. Their benefits are too good. Beyond that, there's a lot of places that are saying that, we're going to give you merit pay only based on the performance of the students in your class or in your school. What's your response to that?
Well, the merit pay and the tenure usually go hand in hand. And I don't think that I've met a teacher that thinks that we should keep bad teachers in our school district. So I think that it would be great if we could create a system where we could get rid of, or at least take a poor performing teacher and give them the help that they need to become better. And if they can't get better, then they have to go. My research shows that a good teacher can teach about 1.5 to 2 years worth of material, and a bad teacher maybe only teaches about a half a year. I think that's a huge problem because a bad teacher isn't just inefficient, they're detrimental. They ruin your child's education by half a year. So I think that there's got to be a way that we can alleviate those teachers and get them out of the system because they're not working. I would also like to incentivize keeping good teachers because I think we're all human. And I think that we all like to be rewarded. And I don't know that we know exactly what teachers find rewarding, but I think we could figure it out. And I think that if we got teachers involved, they could tell us. So, yes, I would like to see the system changed. But make no mistake, I have a lot of respect for teachers. I think the teachers in Oshkosh are outstanding. I trust my children to them. And I, from the test scores and from everything that I've seen in the 3 years of volunteer work that I do in the school districts every week, I think they're amazing. I love them. So I want to make sure that they stay. I don't want to push them out.
The recreation end of things within our school district, it's been suggested by Ben Schneider II, who's on the school board, that we can do away with that program and the kids can go to the Y. Well, there's a classic case where people, you talk about not everybody in a school district, all those students don't have a cell phone. Well, all kids certainly can't afford to go to the Y. So do you think that we need to maintain this recreation program that we currently have?
I'm not very well versed on the rec department issue.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I think that theoretically, if we can afford to keep it running, my kids use that program, and I use it because it's cheaper than the Y. And I like the programs as well, and they have a great time, and we only use it in the summer. I think we can probably find some creative ways to keep it going. And if it's a system that families can use because they can't afford the Y, then definitely I'd like to see it keep going. But we have to be creative if we can't.
All right.
If we can't keep it running, we can't afford it, then we got to brainstorm.
Okay. 4-year-old kindergarten. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's another issue that I don't know a lot about. I hear from a lot of people that they don't think it's necessary. I hear from other groups that say it's absolutely necessary.
Our meetings on the programs.
Yes, yeah, we just did a huge program on it. Yeah.
Right. And in fact, it's funny, I just got an email tonight from a friend of mine who asked me if I knew what was coming down the pipeline for 4-year-old kindergarten because she's on the board at her preschool. I don't know what's coming down the pipeline. I don't understand the issue well enough to really comment on it.
Okay, all right.
Can I make one more comment?
Sure, yeah.
I think you are the best prepared candidate I've ever interviewed for the school board.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I compliment you.
Yes, thank you.
It's been an incredible interview. You were very knowledgeable, much more than what information I have.
Okay.
Yes.
I compliment you on your preparedness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I echo those thoughts.
Oh, I'm flattered.
Why don't you take about 30 seconds, look into camera 3, and tell folks why they should elect you to the Oshkosh School Board.
Well, I've been involved for 3 years. I think I've climbed the learning curve, so I can hit the ground running if I am elected. I want what is best for our children, and I do value teachers in our district, and I hope that we can make the pie bigger.
All right, excellent. And that's going to do it for us, but in closing, let me just say, I want to thank Allison for being here, Jef Hall for the first half hour, the crew, and all of you at home. Please either go to the polls on Tuesday, April 5th, or vote in advance if you're going to vote by absentee ballot or whatever. If you're not registered to vote, please get registered and do vote. An important election coming up. A lot of things are riding on this. We've got a common council race. We've got a school board race. We've got a county judge race, we've got a Supreme Court race, and then depending on where you live, there are other issues on the ballot as well. So please vote. It's always important. All right? And that's going to do it. We'll see you next time. Until then, take good care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.